Hello, and thank you for joining our Trojan Travel webinar, Discover with USC. During today's session, we will be in a presentation format. Your cameras are off, so feel free to relax and enjoy your time with us. As you saw, this session is being recorded and it will be posted on our website next week so you can watch it again or share with your friends. We welcome questions during the session, as you see here, and there is a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. When you click on it, you'll see a dialog box open on the side of your screen and you can type your questions in there. Either Mike or I will answer those. So again, welcome to the first in our series of travel webinars. This week, we are exploring the different types of tours offered by the USC Alumni Association. As you probably know, or you may not, because there is confusion, we are not a travel agency. Rather, we are a division of the Alumni Association that arranges educational tours around the United States and around the world. Joining us today, I'm so excited because we have a wonderful group of past travelers, Trojans who are interested in learning more about Trojan travel, as well as a number of my travel planner colleagues from around the country. I am Linda Ball, and I'm the Associate Director and Manager of Trojan Travel. I've been with the program for over 10 years and have had the opportunity to travel with many groups around the world and have seen just how special these tours are. It is no surprise, though, that this year, the travel industry and business has faced unique challenges and the world has been virtually shut down since the middle of March. The industry has faced challenges before, as like after 9/11 or some of the stock market crashes, but never quite like this. Now, more than ever, we are grateful to work with tour operators who are the finest in the business as we look forward to begin to travel again and have group tours available for all of you. Trojan Travel has been offering educational group tours to alumni and friends of USC for almost 50 years. Alumni travel is a unique and special way to explore the world, and we love sharing new places and discoveries together. Just last week, we released our 2021 catalog of tours, and now we are so excited to take a deeper dive with our expert travel partners this week. Today, it is a pleasure to welcome and introduce Mike Hull, Vice President of Sales for AHI Travel. Like many of us, Mike learned to love exploring international travel destinations at an early age while his father was living overseas. He pursued his love of travel as a travel director with Intrav and escorted groups around the world. Mike continued his career with Intrav and Clipper Cruise Lines until 2001, when he joined AHI Travel in his current position. At each stage of his 30 plus years, or over 30 years of the travel industry, he has remained committed and passionate about working with clients throughout the United States and Canada to promote and deliver inspirational, cultural, and educational travel programs that connect travelers to the world, to each other, and to their sponsoring organizations like USC. Mike, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Linda. Much appreciated. Good day, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you today and to have the chance to talk about something we all love, travel. I know we all share the hope that one day soon we'll be able to connect once again with the people, places, and cultures of the world. Thank you, Linda, for organizing this event. It's an honor to work with the USC Alumni Association and an honor to be here today as well. AHI Travel has a long and storied history with USC that dates back more than 40 years. In fact, I think, if my recollection is correct, USC's first trip ever was with AHI Travel on a Rhine River cruise many years ago. And AHI's had a tradition in travel that dates back nearly 60 years. We'll start today with a short intro to AHI, and then from there, we'll go into the trips that are available for 2021. So AHI Travel is a group tour operator specializing in education and cultural tours worldwide for university alumni associations. We were the first company to specialize in this segment of the market and first to develop into a national and international basis as well. We were established in 1963 as Alumni Holidays Incorporated. That's where the AHI and AHI Travel comes from. It has nothing to do with ahi tuna or sushi. It's an acronym for Alumni Holidays Incorporated. We are family owned and operated, founded by Dick and Arlene Small in '63, and it's now owned and operated by their three sons, Joe, Rick, and Brian. Our world headquarters are in Chicago, and of course, we're honored to be a USC travel partner for over 40 years. So what makes AHI a little different? Well, first of all, our tours are designed exclusively for the Alumni Association traveler. Our tours are not available to the general marketplace. We do not sell our tours through the travel agent community. Our tours are designed to be cultural and educational experiences featuring university professors, local experts, and many hands-on activities. They're led by professional travel directors and local guides. And when we design our tours, there are a couple of things that we try to build in that may be a little unique. One of those are activities that we refer to as our AHI Connects activities. These programs are an effort to try to connect the travelers with locals in the communities that we're visiting. When traveling in a group, oftentimes you've got a little bit of a barrier around you, and it can be difficult to meet the locals. So these activities are infused into our programs to try to foster the connection with the locals. We also try to build in choice and flexibility. And of course, with the group tour, there's a certain amount of structure that comes with that. But if we program things properly, we can build in lots of choice and flexibility as well. We do this through what we call our personalize your journey options. These options do not cost anything additional. It's just a day or two in the program where you'll have multiple different options to choose from. And that way you can choose and design the tour that is of most interest to you. All of our accommodations are deluxe and first class. These are high quality tours with inclusive pricing. So most everything's included. So representing a very good value. And for your single travelers, we offer no single supplement on many of our programs. So at this point, we'll get into, the top of mind for today's travelers obviously has to do with health protocols. This is something that we haven't had to focus on a lot in the past, but obviously it's of great importance now. AHI has embarked on a journey of 5 things that we have put into our 2021 trips to try to maximize the health and safety of our programs. The first of those was to take our land journeys and reduce the group sizes down to just 24 maximum people. This allows for better social distancing on motor coaches, in restaurants, and other parts of the tour. We've also taken our river journey programs where we charter vessels, and we're limiting the capacity on these chartered river ships. For example, a ship that holds 160 people, we will max out at 120. So we're reducing the capacity down by about 25%. In order, again, to allow for better social distancing, both on and off the ship. We've put our travel directors through a whole special course of health and safety training to make sure they're well prepared for dealing with health protocols in every destination. We've also developed a whole list of requirements that have been distributed out to our hotels, to the river ships that we charter, motor coach companies, et cetera, of listing all of the things that they must do from a health and safety standpoint in order for our groups to go to their locations. And the good news is they've all responded back. They've all enthusiastically embraced these, And many of them have even provided a list back to us with additional things that they're going to do over and above. And then finally, we will be putting together special materials for the travelers that you can review prior to departure so that you know exactly in clear language what is expected of you on the trip for the destination, etc. So these are the health and safety protocols that have been put into place for 2021 and beyond. Moving on to the trips, there are 21 total trips in 2021 that AHI and USC are partnering on. 7 of those are river journeys and 14 of those are land journeys. There's no way that there, in the time allotted, that I could go into detail on all of these trips. So I'll just mention each of them briefly, and then I'll go into depth on 2 of them, one being a river journey and one of our land-based programs. So what you see on the screen here are 3 of the programs that we do on our exclusively chartered river vessels. One is to Dutch Waterways, Holland and Belgium in the springtime. This is the one that I'm going to go into in more depth later, since it's one of our more popular. We also will have a Rhine and Moselle River adventure. This is kind of the classic European river cruise along the Rhine River, visiting Switzerland, France, Germany, and Holland, beginning in Basel, Switzerland, and ending in Amsterdam. This will take place in July. And as you can see there, the programming on this departure is geared for families. So grandparents traveling with their kids and grandkids on a family journey through Europe. And then the third is Romance of the Douro River, which is a trip through Portugal, visiting Lisbon, Porto, and then cruising through the Alto Douro wine region in September of next year. In addition, we have the Grand Danube Passage, which is an Eastern Europe river cruise, visiting Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia, Croatia, Hungary, Slovakia, Austria, and Czech Republic. As you can see, this is a real belt notcher of a trip, beginning in Sofia, where you have a couple hotel nights, and ending in Prague, where you have a few hotel nights included there as well in October. And then finishing up with the river journeys is a holiday markets cruise, which is also along the Rhine River, but during a very different time of the year when all of the towns along the river in their main squares have Christkindl markets set up that are very festive and enjoyable. So diving in a little bit deeper on the Dutch Waterways program, which will be in April and early May during the peak of the tulip season. This is the ship that will be your home for this trip. It's the MS Amadeus Queen we charter from Lufner Cruises. Built in 2018, accommodates 162 passengers and 81 cabins and suites. But as you can see there, we will be limiting it to 120 travelers on this departure for USC, along with some other alumni associations as well. And to give you a better feel for the ship, here's a short video for you. So as you can see, you will be traveling in style. And I end with another photo of one of the cabins. This is a standard cabin on board. And I specifically wanted to point out an interesting feature of the ship. And that is, you'll notice that there is no balcony here. Reason being, on a river ship, balconies have to take away square footage from the cabin because ships can only be so wide to fit through the locks. So they put in a very ingenious design, floor-to-ceiling windows. You see this bar across here, it looks like the top of a railing. Well, that's exactly what it is. You press a button, the top lowers down, this becomes the top of the railing, and you've created a balcony-like feeling within the cabin there. So where are we going to see on this Dutch Waterways program? You'll start by flying into Brussels. There is an optional extension for a couple hotel nights in Brussels if you would like. From there, then you will transfer to Antwerp, which is where you will board the ship. The inset photo that you see up in the right is the Delft porcelain factory that you'll have a chance to visit if you like. We'll also visit Bruges, some smaller towns like Middelburg, very charming. We'll visit The Hague of international renown. We'll visit towns like Giethoorn. And this, you are on one of the roadways of Giethoorn. They do not have any roads in Giethoorn, no cars. So you have to get around by boat. Keukenhof Gardens, a very popular visit on the Dutch Waterways program. This is acres upon acres of park-like setting with many flowers and trees in bloom, specifically the tulips that Holland is famous for. And then finally ending up in Amsterdam, canals, bicycles, cafes, wonderful place to end. And there is an option to expend more time in Amsterdam at a hotel if you prefer. There are 2 additional river journeys available. I separated these out because we do not charter the ships on these 2. Reason being is that you have as many nights in a hotel as you do on the river ship. And we want to keep the nice small group size of 24 passengers because of the land portions. So you have 2 choices, Wonders of Peru with nights in Lima, then a 3-night Amazon cruise exploring the Amazon jungle, hotel nights in Sacred Valley, Machu Picchu, and Cusco. And then the other option is to Egypt, which was our hottest selling program, most popular program just prior to the pandemic. But nights in Cairo and Luxor, then a Nile River cruise, Aswan, before returning home. Shifting gears from the river journeys to the land journeys, the first 7 here are what I would refer to as traditional land journeys. In other words, they're about 2 weeks in length. They have multiple stays. You move around a little bit in order to cover a lot of geography and see a lot of different things. The Journey to Southern Africa program, I'm going to go into that one in a little bit more depth later, so I'll come back to that one. The Imperial Journey program is to Eastern Europe, the northern part of Eastern Europe, Poland, Germany, and Czech Republic, with nights in Krakow, Warsaw, Berlin, Dresden, and Prague. Quite a nice collection of cities there in June. Then down to Brazil for a program that includes Rio de Janeiro, the colonial towns of Ouro Preto, the safari in the Pantanal, and a visit to Iguazu Falls in May. And then Cuba, this one's not 2 weeks, this is a week-long trip where we'll visit Havana, Trinidad, Cienfuegos. AHI does have all of the proper licensing in place to be able to take educational trips down to Cuba. We also have a Tanzania safari to East Africa, wide open plains, and we'll specifically visit the game parks of Tarangire, Ngorongoro, which is an ancient volcano crater, and the Serengeti in June, which is when the migration is taking place. Then on to the British Isles, to the Celtic Wonders program, Scotland, England, Wales, and Ireland, with nights in Edinburgh, Windermere, which is the English Lake District, Conwy in Wales and Dublin, and then another one down in South America to Chile, working north to south from Santiago to Puerto Varas, which is the Chilean Lakes District, and Puerto Natales, which is Patagonia. This will take place in December, which is our winter, their summer, of course. We have 2 city stay land journeys. These are both 9-day, 7-night programs, one to Budapest and the other to Florence in what we refer to as the serene season, which really means it's an a shoulder to off-season time frame, less crowds, more affordable, and still very nice touring weather, jacket weather at that time. We then have our Alumni Campus Abroad series, which is well known. The focus here is, instead of trying to cover a lot of geography, we go into a region of a country, unpack once, settle in, a smaller town or village versus a big city, and that becomes your home for a very authentic experience, where you then use the motor coach to do day trips, half-day trips, have local experts come in and talk to the group. And the choices for that are southern Spain in a Parador, staying in the town of Antequera, where you're visiting Granada, Seville, Cordoba, Malaga, etc. Then Greece, with a little time in Athens, and then out onto the island of Poros to explore the Peloponnese region of Greece. Iceland, 7 nights in Reykjavik to explore all the natural beauty that Iceland has to offer. And then finally, Morocco, where we will stay 6 nights in Marrakesh, and then head out to Casablanca on the coast to stay for 2 nights, and we'll visit Rabat there as well. This will be in November. I mentioned that we would come back and do a little bit deeper exploration of our Journey to Southern Africa program. This has been one of our most popular programs over the years, which is why we selected this one to focus in on. With this trip, you'll have a few nights in Cape Town before heading to Joburg for some time there to explore the apartheid history of South Africa. Then you'll take the Rovos rail train for a 3-night overnight train experience, very much the nostalgic train experience, up to Victoria Falls, where you'll see the beauty of Victoria Falls. There's an opportunity to get into Botswana there to do a little bit more safari in Chobe National Park, and then finish up with a highlight in Thorny Bush Nature Reserve, where you'll stay in a lodge there and do daily game drives and safari there. And to give you even more details on the trip, I have a short video to play for you here.
Encounter wildlife and wonder on this 12-night adventure through South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. Thrill to majestic African animals, lions, elephants, rhinos, and more, while on safari with expert trackers. Discover the energy of historic Cape Town and witness stirring vistas at the Cape of Good Hope. Tour Robben Island, a powerful tribute to courage and triumph, and visit the townships of Soweto. Traverse golden plains aboard the elegant Rofos Rail and gaze in awe at the thundering Victoria Falls. This once-in-a-lifetime adventure includes a 3-night train journey, 2 flights, and a wealth of awe-inspiring, unforgettable moments that will leave you breathless. Throughout this incredible journey, you'll be in the care of a seasoned travel director who handles all logistics, allowing you to thoroughly enjoy your destination. And our expert guides and local speakers will make the region's unique history and culture come to life. As you explore with your small group, relish comfortable camaraderie and new friendships that create unforgettable memories. Plus, all of our trips feature free time, so you can strike off on your own and make new discoveries. It's time to dust off your dreams and explore. Call now to reserve your place on this one-of-a-kind adventure.
So that brings us to the end of the formal presentation here. And thank you very much for your time today. I will turn things back over to Linda at this point. Linda?
Thank you so much, Mike. I think that was a great overview, and it just makes me so envious and want to get back out and travel so badly. I do have some questions that have come up along the way, and we've had a couple that I've answered already. But I was wondering, you mentioned the Dutch Waterways tour in April. And I know some background on this, but maybe you can just explain, is April kind of our anticipated start window for international travel as we look to 2021?
Yeah, the answer to that at this point is yes. Obviously, this has been a fluid situation and can always adjust. But our current plan is to begin operating tours again in April. It's our anticipation that there will be a vaccine available prior to that time. At least that's what our hope is. And if so, then operating in April should be just fine. Along with the vaccine, will likely be borders opening up for American travelers. So you combine all that together, it means being able to operate in April, subject to change, of course.
Obviously, of course. Yes, it's been quite a moving target this year. I also know that many travelers are concerned about making plans when borders in so many countries remain closed. Can you just explain a little bit about AHI's relaxed cancellation policies?
Yeah, so you put down a deposit for a trip as you normally would, and we have relaxed to the fact that that is refundable up until 75 days prior to departure. Normally, it's much further out where you have to start making final payments, et cetera, at about 120 days. We've brought that back to 75 days in order to give everybody more time before they have to fully commit to the program.
That's really, really helpful. I know that'll make people a lot at ease. For those travelers who did have to change their plans from this year, what is your policy for trips I think it would just be good to explain to people what the process is if a trip is postponed because you cannot travel there.
Yeah, so they've postponed from 2020 to 2021, and their 2021 trip would be postponed as well. Is that the question?
Well, I just think for people who maybe haven't traveled with us at all and just wonder what happens if you're booked for a trip and it gets postponed.
Yeah. So with a postponed trip, obviously we would be in contact with you to discuss various options. One of those options would be to transfer your reservation to another program later in the year. Usually what we'll do is provide an additional discount to make that transfer easier to accept, because we recognize that everybody's disappointed when a trip has to be postponed. So we try to sweeten it a little bit that way. The other option would be, if you're just not ready to commit to a future trip, would be to take a voucher in the amount that has been paid up to that. Usually, and we add an additional amount to the voucher as well, just as a extra little benefit, because again, we recognize everybody's disappointed, including us, that the trip can't operate. So there are multiple options for them if we have to postpone a trip.
That's really helpful. And those vouchers are transferable, correct?
That is correct. Thanks for bringing that up. So if they transfer, they take a voucher, and turns out that they just can't use it or don't want to use it, that can be signed over to somebody else. So that money's certainly not lost.
I think that helps everybody feel a little bit more comfortable with everything, because it is very sad when it gets postponed, especially if someone's worried about traveling. One thing I was curious a little bit more about is your AHI Connects. You mentioned that. And I think one of the special evenings that I remember falls into that category. I was with a group and we had a wonderful dinner at a private home in Lima in Peru.
Mhm.
with a woman who had lived there her whole life, and she welcomed us into her home. Is that the type of thing you're talking about when you mentioned the AHI Connects?
Yes, that's a perfect example. Actually, that's one of the more popular ones when we do the home hosted dinners, because we break. It's not like everybody's going to one person's home. We break into smaller groups. Everybody going to a different home where you can really feel as if you've been invited into a local home and get to experience their cuisine and hospitality and talk customs and really get to know some locals. So that's a great example of it, actually, Linda.
Yeah, I think you guys do a great job adding those special things. I know I've cut to the front of lines. I remember going to Robben Island and we cut past other groups who were waiting and we just were the first ones on the ferry. And I also remember hearing from a wonderful speaker about apartheid while we were on that South Africa trip, who, when we later on met up with a group from Talk Tours, and they were like, oh, we had this great guest speaker, and we had the exact same guest speaker. So those experiences really are top notch, and we do really, really appreciate it. It adds a lot to the experience. So this one's a little broader. I'm just kind of curious, in all your years, because you've been in this business for a long time, obviously group travel has evolved. And I know I hear from people often like, oh, my parents used to travel with Trojan Travel. How has it changed? And I know it's improved since those earlier days, but what are the biggest changes you've seen?
Yeah, that's a great question. From the days of when I was a travel director back in the late 80s and early 90s to today, the tours have evolved quite a bit. The old traditional view of a bus tour just simply isn't the case anymore. Some of the things that I would say have changed the most, group sizes have gotten a lot smaller. I can remember taking groups of 60 through China and Russia and other places around the world. Now, as you know from the presentation, we don't take any more than 24. That changes the dynamic of the program quite a bit, makes it much more personal. The other is just having more hands-on type experiences. It used to be that you saw quite a few things just through a motor coach or just kind of walking and seeing it from a distance. Now, the getting up close, in-depth, hands-on experiences, things like cooking classes, vinters taking you through their home and their facility, and these very personal type things is something that's very new, and obviously the smaller group sizes make that possible. And probably the biggest thing that's changed over the years, and it makes the efficiency of operating a tour is just communication. It used to be travelers would go on a trip and were completely cut off from their normal life, and maybe they were going on the trip to be cut off from their life. But with cell phones and computers and the internet, it has just really changed and made the world smaller in a very positive way.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. And the small groups really are very special. Everybody really gets to know each other. And sometimes it's a whole USC group. A lot of times you're traveling with other universities, and the friendships you form and those, it's just really incredible. So you guys do a fabulous job. We do have a question from one of our travelers, and I know he's a past traveler of ours, who asks if there's still COVID overseas, which I think we can all probably agree it's going to be around. So we're all going to have to be working and living with it. What extra measures for traveling on buses? Because we do spend time on coaches. And I think some of the things, I know planes have higher efficiency. I'm kind of paraphrasing what he wrote here, but planes have ventilation systems with high efficiency air filters, whereas buses seem to have different equipment. So do you have any specifics on that type of stuff? I know with some of the other operators, because I know one of our operators is already running bus tours, and I'll share that information with him there. But I just was curious, and since he is, what is it we're going to be seeing?
Right. Yeah, well, first of all, when we use a motor coach, that motor coach is exclusively ours for the period of time that we have the group. So we don't have to worry about other groups sharing it with us, et cetera. It would be exclusively to us. There is a sanitizing process that happens before we would put a group on board. One of the reasons why we reduced the group down to 24 is because motor coaches generally tend to be around the 50 to 54 seater. And by having 24 people, you can block off every other row, and you can stagger the rows across the aisles as well, and create an environment where you're just spaced out more efficiently. Whether masks will be required or not really will greatly depend on the circumstances, but that is a potential possibility. So that would be the answer for that off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think it's probably safe to guess that we're going to be looking at whatever the local regulations are where we're traveling. We'll be that you'll be meeting those and fulfilling those.
Absolutely. That part of the information that we will provide to the travelers before they depart is exactly what to expect as far as what's going to be needed at that destination, et cetera. Whether it's a test before you go, et cetera, which, by the way, just mentioned that because we talked about it in a meeting that I had today. There's a new rapid test coming out that will be cost about $5 per. It renders a result within 15 minutes and does not require any professional to be able to administer it. And it appears that those will be accepted. And so this could open up a whole new way of being able to travel, everybody being tested prior to getting on an airplane, for example, so that they know that everybody leaving has tested negative with one of these tests. Once we get to April of next year, when we start operating tours, who knows exactly what the situation will be, but we'll be monitoring it closely and make sure that we're following all the guidelines to a T.
And I believe you've been doing a lot of training with your travel directors already in these regards.
Absolutely. And when I talked about the health protocols, that was one of the big points there, is that they're going through a training process, which is an official training, has a certification to it, et cetera, so that they know the PPE equipment, they know proper ways to operate a tour with social distancing. They know what to do if somebody does come down with COVID, so on and so forth. So being trained specifically to handle that. And obviously that training wouldn't apply just to COVID. It would apply to really any health related issue.
No, I think it's going to be a moving situation that we're always going to stay on top of. And I think much like the political issues that some of your tours have had to work around, and I think that ground team that you have in each of those countries is excellent. And you are so tied in with that you really are up to speed, even ahead of what the published information is.
Yeah. When we make decisions, there's the information that we all receive through public sources. But we also, with our local team on the ground in all of these destinations where we're running tours, we can get quite a bit of inside information that can be helpful in making decisions and getting a heads up on something prior. And as an example, stepping outside of the health portion of the discussion on that is, we will sometimes rearrange a tour on a day, specifically because we've heard through our locals that something's happening in this location the same time our group is supposed to be there, but it'll be over in the afternoon. So we'll swap some things around to make sure that it's the most convenient for our group. So having ears on the ground in the local destination is key.
and I have been part of some of those tours that have been rearranged for various reasons, and you guys have done an excellent job. So
Thank you.
I commend you again. It's one of the special things about working with operators that really know what they're doing and what our alumni deserve when they're on tour is what's so great about working with you. So we thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, well, I don't see any other questions at this point, so I think we will wrap up our session today. I want to thank you so much for joining us, and I know that everyone on here joins me as well. We always have great groups on our AHI tours. They are very popular. We are so confident in their tour directors and all of those wonderful itineraries. So we do hope that you'll look at it and join us. They have a wonderful co-branded website. So from our website, you can link to each of the tours that we're doing with them and get all of the information you need, as well as you can even book online with them if you want to do it that way. We are so optimistic about getting back to travel next year and really, really look forward to being with all of you. If you think of any other questions, please feel free to email me directly at the office, which is trojan.travel@usc.edu. And now I would also like to invite you to join our other sessions that we're going to have this week as we explore some other types of tours. This was the perfect start since our first tour was with AHI and it was a river cruise. But tomorrow we're going to dive into expedition style cruising, which is a much different type of a cruise ship. It's not quite as luxurious as the ones Mike showed us, but we'll be looking at trips like going to the Galapagos and then up into the northern regions to explore and visit the polar bears of Churchill. On Wednesday, we're going to be talking about our kind of bucket list sporting events. We take tours. We'll be going to the Masters, which is actually coming up, but also the Kentucky Derby next year. We always have a great group there. So we're going to be talking about that. And then we're going to also explain, I mentioned we are not a travel agency, but we do offer some independent travel options if a group tour is just not quite ready, what you're ready for. On Thursday, we have a special guest from the National World War II Museum. They are our partner, and we do tours that focus on World War II history. Those are incredible tours, and one option is an inbound tour in the US to visit the museum in New Orleans and spend a lot of time there and behind the scenes. And then Friday, we'll wrap up and talk about cruising. Cruising got kind of a bad press during all of the COVID, but the cruise lines are working very hard. And so we'll have our representative from Go Next, as well as an executive from Oceania Cruises joining us that day. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mike, for joining us from Missouri. So thank you for joining us. And I hope you've all enjoyed this lunch break and have a wonderful day. Thank you, and fight on.
Thank you, Linda.